Ah man, it's good to be back. So, some really good news. I pre-ordered like you know the life-size infinity gauntlet where you can put your hand in it and bend all the fingers and everything? I'll probably put it up on screen somewhere. Well, it was meant to be coming like around May-ish time, and instead, the date has been changed to this week. So it's coming on April 18th, which means I can take my infinity gauntlet to the Avengers Infinity War premiere in the UK, and it's gonna be good. Can't wait. And I'll probably make a video about it. So, yeah. What is going on, guys? Welcome to this video. My name is Cameron and this is the review for Ultimate Spider-Man issue 110. Of course, this is Ultimate Night Saga Part 5 and we've got Kingpin on the front cover with his head in the window, sort of symbolizing that he's like the big bad of this Ultimate Night Saga, which is obviously, like, it's obvious by now. I mean, like, we're 5 issues in. Now, of course, guys, before we get into this video, I just want to let you know that, yes, I've seen all the Spider-Man PS4 news. I'm following it. Of course, there's loads of stuff coming out this month. And I will be making videos shortly on it. Like, I'm trying to wait for a walkthrough sort of to appear so that we can, like, do it like that instead. But we'll see what happens. But anyway, back to this Ultimate Spider-Man issue 109. What happened in that issue? Which was the previous issue? Well, if you remember, Ronan attacked Peter Parker's high school and brought him to the Kingpin. So the previous issue opened up with Peter Parker waking up in an interrogation room with the Kingpin, and this is by far like the most badass I've seen Kingpin look ever in the comic. I mean, look at the size of him. He is towering Peter Parker, and I think one of the worst things as well is, like, you know Kingpin is serious because Kingpin is doing this himself. But something that was really surprising was the fact that Kingpin knew that Ronan was in fact Moon Knight the entire time. And it was just so brutal how Kingpin, like, beat the crap out of him. It was awful. And of course, this issue is going to open up with something happening to Moon Knight or like Ronan or whatever. That is quite dark, so yeah. But in other parts of the issue, I really liked how Daredevil was actually searching for Spider-Man with Doctor Strange. I mean, it showed that Daredevil cared for Spider-Man, and it showed that Daredevil was willing to work with other heroes, and Doctor Strange obviously doesn't like getting like too in-depth with all the crime and everything because he's like a TV personality now in this universe and everything. But it was awesome to see Doctor Strange's powers coming to fruition in this situation, like actually seeing them being used. It was incredible. And of course, I think I mentioned it in my review, the artwork for that, like those panels and everything, was insane. But as we came up to the ending of the issue, we saw Spider-Man actually start attacking Daredevil because Kingpin spread the lie to Spider-Man that Daredevil was working for the Kingpin, which is completely not true at all. And a few minutes later, Daredevil's office building gets blown up, and that is when he realizes, he hears the heartbeat and realizes that Iron Fist is the one who betrayed them all. And the pure rage that came out of that final panel as the comic came to a close was super scary. Like, Daredevil, like, you do not want to be in that situation when Daredevil is there like that. Really scary. So obviously, guys, this issue that we're about to review right now is going to pick up directly from where that previous issue left off, with Daredevil freaking out at Iron Fist, and of course we're going to have to see how that situation unfolds. But before we get into this, I just want to really quickly say the next issue is actually where Peter and Aunt May discuss the whole Spider-Man thing, so look out for the next issue. It's a really good one. It's also the issue where Mark Bagley stops doing the artwork for Ultimate Spider-Man, which is a really depressing time. Anyway, it's been so long, let's get into this review. It's Ultimate Spider-Man issue 110. Alright, so we're opening up the pages to Ultimate Spider-Man issue 110, and it actually starts off with the execution of Moon Knight. Now, surprisingly, I didn't actually think this was going to happen. I mean, Moon Knight is one of the main characters of this saga, and these guys just straight up shot him in the head. So again, that is why this Ultimate Night saga is one of the darker sagas of the entire Ultimate Spider-Man series, because we just straight up watched one of the main characters get his head blasted off. And I know Moon Knight had a lot of problems. It was really sad to see this happen to him. I mean, he put himself into this situation to take down the Kingpin, and it didn't exactly go right. And one of the worst things is that he pretty much got the worst side of Kingpin's wrath. I mean, Daredevil got his identity revealed, Daredevil got his office building blown up, but Moon Knight specifically got executed. It's awful. But now going back to what's happening on screen, you can see that Daredevil is absolutely freaking out because he just realized that Iron Fist is the one that betrayed them all. And I just love that anger that bursts out of Daredevil as if he can't hold himself back, everyone trying to restrain him. It is just pure aggression. Now we actually get a major reveal to do with Iron Fist's character here, and it's the fact that he's got a daughter. And of course that is just like every cliche thing to go wrong where some character has something special to him and he gets blackmailed into doing something, and so that is the exact same situation here. Now something that I actually did like about this situation was the fact that Shang-Chi was completely unexpecting Iron Fist to be the betrayer in this situation, and when he found out that he was, Shang-Chi just took off. So I think that's how you know that you have definitely hurt your friend emotionally doing that as well. Absolute disappointment. So as we get through the comic, something else that I really liked about it was how Iron Fist was actually talking about what happened on that rooftop whilst he sat there in the office of the Kingpin. And I love the reveal that Iron Fist actually gives when he says that he was sent there to distract the Kingpin whilst the Daredevil does something else, and this is by far the darkest section of the comic. And you can very much tell that Daredevil has just been pushed over the edge so far that he's willing to do anything to take Kingpin down. And what you've got to remember is that Daredevil is a man of justice, he's a lawyer, etc. So the fact that Daredevil is actually threatening to murder Kingpin's innocent wife, that's just crazy. But as we go back over to Moon Knight, something that is actually so badass is we find out that he's pretty much still alive. All the personalities are still in his head talking, and the Ronin personality specifically picks up the Moon Knight personality and yells at him to get up. And this is just an awesome concept because Ronin, who was taking over and becoming the prime personality, has pretty much given the reins to the Moon Knight personality. He's sort of accepted that he's not good enough and he's handed the keys back to Moon Knight, and that is just so awesome. But again, I don't really know how that works. I mean, he literally got shot in the head, so I don't know how he's still alive. I don't really think multiple personalities would save him, but maybe we'll find out in the next issue. Who knows? So moving on anyway, this is one of the best parts of this entire Ultimate Knight saga, when Daredevil is at what is most likely the most major point of his superhero career. He's literally on the edge of murdering Kingpin's innocent wife, and he's trying to justify why he should do it because nothing else is working. Kingpin knows the identity of Daredevil, and in my opinion, this is what makes the Ultimate Knight saga so special, because a character like Daredevil is pushed to his limits to the point where he's almost about to murder someone. And what makes this moment even more special in the comic and in the entire saga is the fact that Spider-Man, who's a 15-year-old kid, has so much life experience. And keep in mind that Daredevil is a full-grown man. He's able to talk Daredevil out of it, and I think it's really interesting because even every single person in the room, even Kingpin, looks surprised by what Spider-Man had to say about his uncle dying. It just really shows what kind of character Spider-Man is, what kind of person he is, especially at the age of 15. It's just really special. And believe it or not, it shows what sort of real emotional damage being a superhero can do to people. I mean, Daredevil is on the edge. It's bad. But anyway, as we're coming up to the final few pages of the comic, you could see that Moon Knight actually managed to crawl himself into a police station and actually be able to tell them for the first ever time that Kingpin is the person that tried to kill him. And what's really dark about this situation as well is whilst this is going on, Kingpin wants to blow up the high school that Peter Parker attends whilst class is in session, and that just shows how dark and how sinister of a villain Kingpin truly is. Because you've got to remember as well, Vanessa, who is his sick wife, she's the most treasured thing ever to the Kingpin. He loves her to death. So the fact that Daredevil managed to get in there and pick her up and threaten to kill her, that was going to send Kingpin hunting for their lives. He was serious about that. But luckily, due to Moon Knight still being alive and being able to confess to what Kingpin's done, etc., Kingpin was arrested as he got to the airport. And what I really liked was Kingpin was I don't even know who that person is, and then a few minutes later he's wait, he's still alive? Kingpin, you shouldn't say that, Jesus. And so now onto these final pages, we've got the comic closing off with the reports of Kingpin actually being arrested, sort of highlighting some of where the characters are now and everything. And one thing I really liked is how the comic ended on the final page with Peter Parker walking past all that Spider-Man merchandise. It's actually quite emotional because even though Kingpin's gone to prison and all that stuff, a lot of things were lost. Daredevil's identity got released, his own office got blown up, and I feel Peter Parker's facial expressions, the sadness that he's feeling as he's walking through the street there, you can really feel it through the pages, and that's just awesome. So, guys, that is it for this comic review. I hope you enjoyed it. That was Ultimate Spider-Man issue 110. But let's go back on camera and talk about some of the highlights of the comic. So, this is the issue that brings Ultimate Knight's saga to a complete close. And how did you guys think it finished off? Because Jesus, Daredevil being pushed over the edge to the point where he was going to murder Kingpin's innocent wife, Vanessa. You can really tell that Daredevil's hit rock bottom when that happened, because obviously Kingpin knows his secret identity. Technically, Daredevil is no longer safe at all. Like, he can't like ever relax and know that he's like, okay. But I think one of the more important moments to come out of this was when Spider-Man swung in there and had to talk Daredevil out of it. And you could see Daredevil sort of fighting with his conscience on this. Like, as Spider-Man was suggesting stuff and trying to talk him out of it, Daredevil was sort of fighting against it and being like, yeah, but he won't ever stop. That is like one of the best moments I think I've seen in the entire Ultimate Spider-Man series. The fact that Spider-Man stood there and actually explained how his uncle was murdered, and that is the moment where you truly know whether you are the hero you're trying to be. And you could really feel like the emotion, like Spider-Man knowing exactly how it felt to be in that situation before. And what really sort of brings you into the comic as well is the fact that Spider-Man is just a 15-year-old kid, but he understands everything that all of like the grown-up superheroes have been through. He's got life experience that most grown-up superheroes don't have. For Spider-Man to be able to teach Daredevil something about being a superhero, I feel like Daredevil's going to be able to respect Spider-Man so much more as a superhero instead of just thinking that he's a little kid. I think that meant a lot, and honestly, it was great. But rolling back the pages just a little bit, Moon Knight actually being shot in the head at the beginning, that execution was dark as hell. Like, honestly, not something I thought that I would see in an Ultimate Spider-Man comic, with a superhero being shot through the face. How did he come back to life? Does that get explained? I cannot remember. Obviously, if he actually did die, then all of the personalities would have just disappeared, they would have vanished. And what I thought was really interesting was how the Ronin personality, he actually picked up the Moon Knight personality and told him to get up. And that was almost like Ronin was no longer fit for purpose, and he sort of gave the keys back to the Moon Knight personality, if you get me. It was so awesome. So yeah, really interesting, but I still have so many unanswered questions. Like, how did Ronin wake up? He got shot in the head. I don't know. Maybe you guys know though, so go for it. Kingpin got arrested, and it was really dark how Kingpin wanted to blow up Peter Parker's high school whilst they were in like class. It was so messed up, and that really shows how sinister of a villain Kingpin truly is. I mean, he hasn't really done anything too drastic in these Ultimate Spider-Man comics, but right there just shows that he's capable of doing that. And the way the comic ended with all of the superheroes sort of being highlighted as it was going through that Kingpin report, showing where all of the characters were, you could tell that each character had lost something, whether it be a piece of their dignity or whether it was a friend. Not everybody came out of it feeling like they had won. Daredevil with his identity in his office building, Shang-Chi being disappointed in Iron Fist having to live with the fact that he betrayed his heroes. Doctor Strange didn't really have anything to lose, I don't think, but yeah, Spider-Man on the very last page where he's just walking through in the rain, Spider-Man more or less felt really bad because he had to talk Daredevil, who he looks up to, what it means to be a hero, and so that hit Peter Parker so hard. And having to see that Spider-Man merchandise, obviously Kingpin owns that merchandise, so that's like a reminder to Spider-Man, Kingpin technically still wins, and I don't think they could have ended it any better than that. So yeah, it's time to rate the issue, guys, and I'm going to rate this issue a 9 out of 10. I think it's quite obvious, like, this is the rating for the entire Ultimate Knight saga, by the way, not just this issue, and overall, it was the darkest saga that I think we've had in a while in these comics, besides like the Clone Saga where that was like really dark. But yeah, you can tell that the characters got hit hard in this saga and it might have changed them forever. So anyway guys, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, the next issue is the issue where Spider-Man and Aunt May actually talk to each other about the whole secret identity thing, and it's also the issue where Mark Bagley, artist, leaves the comic book of Ultimate Spider-Man and another artist takes over. Jesus, like, I can't remember, is it David LaFuente that takes over, or it's like Stephen Ponce or something? I can't remember it was one of them, or like whether I butchered the names or whatever, but yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked this video guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and of course, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. The links are in the description. I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.